Welcome to Retro Scale Modelling. This is part 3 of Airfix's Vickers Vanguard. Scale is 1 to 144. In this part, I'm going to be finishing off the painting and placing all the other bits and pieces onto the model. So let's jump into this and see how well I get on. To start off with, I'm masking the canopy. Now, it's a very simple mask. It's just thin little lines. Now, generally, I'll do this painting as freehand, but the lines on the canopy are so faint, I haven't got much of a guide, so I'm masking them off so that I can see where I've got to paint. And I'm using Rebel Aquacolor 04 Gloss White to paint the canopy, so that's the main colour on the fuselage as well, of course. It's now time to put the wings together. These are a simple construction, just the two halves cemented together. There is a couple of location points for you to line them up, and it will need a couple of clamps just to keep everything in place. Next, I'm taking the masking tape off the main fuselage. So underneath there is just the actual primer itself, but decals will be going on top of that. And then it's to the rear wings, and these are assembled the same way as the main wings. I'm using Rebel Aquacolor 12 Yellow, and this is for the flash of the tips of the props. Just in this freehand, you can obviously mask off if you wish, but it's just a little flash of paint on each tip. It's now time to lift the masking tape off the canopy. Now I have to do this quite carefully because the slats that I painted in are very thin, so there's a danger of taking up the paint as you're taking off the masking tape. Now you can negate that by putting a varnish on beforehand, but don't put it on too thickly or it will still lift off the paint. The key is just to be careful when you're taking it off, and once it's off, varnish it as quick as you can. That way you know it's going to be protected. To cement the canopy and use a micro crystal clear. Now this stuff is designed for canopies, so it doesn't fog them up, but also it can fill in any little gaps and leave a clear film as well. So it's very good for replacing a small window or just filling in those tiny little gaps if you can't get a canopy to fit. The canopy is quite difficult to fit. I had to squeeze the front part of the fuselage just to open the hole up large enough to slide in the windscreen. So it's onto the engine cowls now, and these didn't quite fit so well. There was a bit of a gap, so those are going to have to be filled and sanded down. It turned out there was only a tiny little bit of a gapping issue on it, so I hardly put any filler in. You wouldn't have been able to pick it on camera, so I didn't bother showing it. But I had to sand them down anyway, so I'm just taking the paint off with my file to get everything nice and even. And I'm painting them with Rebel Aquacolor 90 Silver. Now, you can argue, well, you're having to paint them twice. Why bother painting them beforehand? Sometimes it works like this. Sometimes it will save a bit of time and energy doing it beforehand, and sometimes like this it goes slightly wrong. It's just how I build. I'm using Rebel Aquacolor 08 Matte Black, and this is for the colour of the flash on the tail. As you can see, I've already put a little bit of masking tape on so I can get a sharp line. Next job is to clean the wing roots up of any paint before bonding. Now, this is essential that you do this, and I've had a couple of people asking me, do you clean the paint off when you're cementing it? And the answer is yes, I do. I don't often show it because I do it so often. I used to show it all the time on a lot of older videos, but I haven't shown it for quite a while, so I thought, well, I better show you what I do on this particular build. So I'm just taking my knife and dragging it along the area that needs to be cleaned, and it just lifts up all the little bits of paint. So it's this point where I'm going to be putting on the decals. I fast forward this process up, but it's a straight simple placement of the decals. using a decal solution. In this case, I'm using Microsol, and I treat the area that I'm putting the decal on, and once the decal's softened up with a little bit of warm water, I'll place the decal on, then I'll just take my brush and put some more solution over the top of the decal. This just helps settle it in, as well as it will help it bend and around difficult sharp areas. And it's then back to Revel Aquacolor 08 Matte Black, and this is just to finish off the nose area. For some reason they don't give you the decal to cover the whole nose, which I do actually prefer, because these nose decals can be quite tricky to fit. So what they do is they just give you the a decal that's going to create the curve pattern on the nose, and then leaves the builder to fill in the rest with paint. Now for the props, you can have these free moving if you wish, but I'm not going to bother and just having them in static position. So I didn't bother putting in the little pin to have them free moving. And once the props were on, it was time to attach the wings. They fitted in really well. I did have to hold it somewhat to get them to stabilise, but I've had to fit worse. I mean, they weren't a perfect fit. There was a little bit of manoeuvring to get them in position, but they were okay. Then it was onto the rear wings. Now, I did have issues with the rear wings. There was too much of a gap on the wing root, so that's going to have to be filled in. So again, I'm using my sprue glue just to fill in the wing root. It's just a little bead that I need, but if I didn't do it, it'd be more noticeable. But I do suspect the rear wings should have fitted better. It may have been me that didn't fit them too well. So once everything was dry, it was time to repaint. So it's back to Revel Aquacolor 04 Gloss White. Before I gloss, I'm just going to place it on its stand. This is an Airfix stand. Scale is 1/48, this stand, but it fits this particular kit quite well. Now, the reason why I'm putting it on the stand is just easier to varnish. So I'm using Winsor & Newton gloss varnish here. And all that's required is a thin coat. And once I'm satisfied with the bottom of it, I'll just flip over the model and place it on the stand and varnish the rest of the plane. And actually, this will complete the model. So I got a lot more done in this part than I thought I was going to be able to fit in. But it was a basic kit, so there wasn't a lot of work needed doing to it anyway. The final reveal will be in the next part. The kit itself is just currently drying, so I can't take the final shots until everything is cured. If you haven't done so already, why don't you check out the channel? There may be something there that will pique your interest. If you subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell also. That way you'll be kept up to date of all my future builds. And of course, you'll be notified when the final reveal's up. Hit that like button, don't be afraid to leave a comment, and of course you can share the video. But for now, thank you all very much for watching. Bye bye.